It's February 10th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with the stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with a fresh round in the U.S. China tariff war. China's retaliatory tariffs on a set of U.S. imports are now effective as of Monday. While U.S. President Donald Trump says any steel and aluminum coming into his country are going to have a 25% tariff, more import duties are set to be unveiled in the coming days. President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial is scheduled to come to an end this week, with a high possibility that it won't be over by the end of the week. And the Constitutional Court is holding another key hearing on whether acting President Choi Sang-mok should have appointed Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk. South Korea snatched 6 gold medals in short track and speed skating events at the 2025 Harbin Winter Asian Games over the weekend. Its best achievement at the Winter Games. Choi Min-jung won the women's 1,000-meter short track event, bringing home her 3rd gold medal at this year's Games. The latest U.S. China trade war appears to be flaring up as China's tit-for-tat levies on the U.S. are now in effect. And Trump's next round of tariffs are set to be announced on Monday. This time, 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports. Our Park Kwon-woo reports.
The tariffs imposed by the U.S. are intensifying. On Sunday, U.S. President Donald Trump said he will announce plans for new 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum shipments to the U.S. He also said reciprocal tariffs for countries that impose tariffs on the U.S. will be revealed in the coming days and will take effect almost immediately.
If they charge us, we charge them. But if they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way. Every country will be reciprocal, that's right.
This comes as the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China has intensified. The U.S. implemented an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese imports to the U.S. starting last Tuesday. In retaliation, China announced plans to impose tariffs of 10 to 15% on items, including coal, liquefied natural gas, and crude oil from the U.S., effective Monday. As China previously expressed its intention to negotiate with the U.S., there had been an expectation that an agreement would be reached before actual implementation. Last week, Trump also shared his intention to talk with China's President Xi Jinping, but said he was in no hurry.
No, we'll speak to him at the appropriate time. I'm in no rush. The deficit with China is about $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion. They're using our money to build their military. And Biden let that happen.
That's compared to when he delayed the implementation of additional tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a month after some discussions. But as both the U.S. and China have expressed their intention to hold talks, pundits believe there's still a chance of reaching a consensus. The two countries previously ended the trade war during the first Trump administration after 18 months, after China agreed to purchase more U.S. products, while the U.S. held off on imposing additional high tariffs on Chinese goods. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
The trade spat between the U.S. and China is officially back on, with China's tariffs on U.S. imports now implemented as of Monday. Are the two sides better prepared this time? Is that why there was no deal reached? We turn to Jeff Moon, president of China Moon Strategies, this morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So why do you think there wasn't any last-minute negotiation or deal reached between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping?
The current U.S.-China trade dispute is just a continuation of the trade war that persisted throughout Trump's first term. The differences between the two countries involved a wide range of issues that can't be solved easily or quickly during a single phone call between the leaders. So Trump threatened throughout his presidential campaign that he would impose new tariffs on China. Everyone has expected the tariff war to resume during his second term, and the failure to find a last-minute off-ramp at this point is actually no surprise. From my perspective, the only surprise is that Trump didn't impose these tariffs earlier, as he had promised during the campaign, and that the tariffs that he did impose were only at the 10% level rather than, say, 60 or more that he threatened many times over during the past year.
So it's a continuation of what we saw 6 and 7 years ago. That's why it's going to be even more complicated. Now, there are reports that Xi was the one not wanting to speak with Trump. Why wouldn't he? I mean, what's on Xi's mind?
We really don't know what's been happening behind the scenes, but the choreography surrounding U.S. China leadership meetings has always been complicated and testy. Both sides want to uphold national dignity. Neither side wants to appear weak or subservient. So protocol issues such as who's requesting the meeting, where it will be held, what the agenda will be, have always taken a long time to resolve and usually well in advance of the meetings. In this case, Trump announced the new tariffs with no prior notice in the midst of China's annual one-week Chinese New Year holiday,
Right.
with an effective date just several days later. So the two sides were unable in that context to agree on whether and when they should talk, but there will be a conversation soon because bilateral negotiations can't begin until the top leaders formally agree and approve the process.
Well, we do know that the Chinese tariffs on the U.S. do include a wide range of items and sectors, but some analysts are saying that they will have a minimal impact on the U.S. Are you also on the same page?
China's response to Trump's tariffs include targeted retaliatory tariffs, which are fairly light, symbolic responses to U.S. sanctions unrelated to tariffs, and threats to escalate further. In addition to filing a WTO complaint, China retaliated for Trump's across-the-board 10% tariffs with tariffs on just $14 billion of selected American goods. In addition, though, China announced symbolic retaliation on non-tariff issues. So new export controls further weaponize China's monopoly on critical minerals. A new antitrust investigation against Google looks like retaliation for what's happened with TikTok. And blacklisting various U.S. apparel and biotech companies arguably retaliates for U.S. sanctions affecting Chinese firms in those sectors. So China's message here is that the U.S. can expect further retaliation, not just for tariffs, but also across the full range of bilateral trade disputes.
Well, we are still in the early stages of another trade war between Washington and Beijing. But if Trump and Xi do end up talking on the phone, what kind of deals do you think will make both Trump and Xi content?
I'm pessimistic in the short term that Trump and the Chinese will reach a deal satisfying both sides. China's goal is to preserve its annual trade surplus of hundreds of billions of dollars without changing its anti-competitive state-led practices. The U.S. seeks reforms curbing that anti-competitive impact of China's state-led industrial policies. Those goals are inconsistent and probably not reconcilable. Nevertheless, China has floated proposals to revisit the Phase 1 deal from Trump's first term and to invest in U.S. manufacturing. I don't think either of those ideas will fully address American concerns. So the question for Trump as he begins his second term is whether he can strike a deal that provides not just short-term benefits, say, in the form of purchases, but also addresses the long-term industrial policy issues that are really at the heart of the trade dispute.
Well, it's a relief for now that tariffs on, Canada and Mexico are on hold for about a month. But China's tariffs on U.S. are in effect. How long do you think it'll take to see the tariffs take a toll on South Korea and its economy?
The most obvious visible impact of U.S.-China tensions and tariffs is the friendshoring phenomenon that's causing American firms in China to relocate to Korea and other allied countries. On the downside, however, Trump's tariffs will fuel inflation in the United States, and that could be exported around the world. I think, frankly, more serious than these Chinese tariffs are the new tariffs that were just announced tonight here in the United States on 25% on all steel and aluminum imports into the United States. Korea is responsible for 9% of steel imports to the United States. And in 2018, Korea negotiated a quota in lieu of steel and aluminum tariffs that Trump imposed then. It's not clear whether that quota will be sufficient or whether the new tariffs will be applied in addition to the measures that were agreed to in 2018. So there are a lot of questions for South Korea that need to be resolved.
Sir, thank you so much for connecting with us this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial is scheduled to wrap up this week, but it seems highly likely that the case won't wrap up by then. And meanwhile, on Monday, justices will hold another key hearing on a dispute over acting President Choi Sang-mok should have appointed one more judge to the Constitutional Court bench. Our Oh Soo-young reports.
The Constitutional Court will hold a hearing on a dispute case regarding acting President Choi Sang-mok's decision to withhold the appointment of Constitutional Court Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk while appointing two others recommended alongside him. The case was filed by National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik, who claimed Choi neglected to follow a parliamentary resolution to appoint 3 justices in December last year. Choi, however, had pledged to appoint a third justice after bipartisan agreement on the candidate. The court initially planned to deliver the ruling last Monday, but accepted Choi's request for additional hearings. During the session, the court will hear arguments from both sides regarding whether Speaker Woo had the authority to file the competence dispute case without a plenary session vote. The question of Ma's appointment has caused a strong political standoff, as the left-leaning judge would become the 9th member of the judicial bench as it rules on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment case. Time is running out on Yoon's impeachment trial, with just 2 hearings left at the Constitutional Court this week, making an extension likely. On Tuesday, the court will hold Yoon's 7th trial hearing, with 4 witnesses summoned to testify: former Minister of the Interior and Safety Lee Sang-min, National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik, former 3rd Deputy Director of the National Intelligence Service Baek Jong-wook, and Secretary General of the National Election Commission Kim Yong-bin. Questions for the former Interior Minister are expected to focus on the meeting of cabinet members held before the martial law declaration on December 3rd last year. The National Assembly's impeachment panel says the president had bypassed cabinet procedures before imposing the decree. The National Security Advisor, who served as defense minister until September last year, is expected to be grilled over whether there was prior planning. As both the National Assembly and President Yoon's legal team have requested Lee and Shin as witnesses, the lawyers will directly question and cross-examine each witness twice. For the National Intelligence Service and Election Commission officials, the questions are expected to focus on election fraud allegations raised by President Yoon as a pretext for declaring martial law. Yoon previously said the Intelligence Service found significant issues while inspecting the Election Commission's electronic voting system. Thus, he ordered the military to be deployed to its headquarters to conduct a comprehensive review. The 8th and final hearing is currently scheduled for Thursday. However, given that 4 witness testimonies are planned throughout the day, it is unlikely that the justices will conclude the hearings then. In order to officially end the hearings, the court must hear closing arguments from both legal teams and President Yoon's final statement. While Press Officer Chun Jae-yeon said Friday that she has not heard yet if the trial will be extended. It has been reported that the Constitutional Court has not yet instructed either side to prepare their final arguments. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Search and rescue efforts continued overnight for 5 missing crew members after a fishing boat capsized off the south coast. The Korea Coast Guard has deployed more than 40 patrol ships, civilian fishing boats, and aircraft to find the remaining people. In the early hours of Sunday, the 139-ton Seogyeong trawler carrying 14 crew members sunk off the coast of Yeosu in the south of the country. 2 Vietnamese and 2 Indonesian nationals were found in a lifeboat nearby, while 5 other crew members have been reported dead. Though authorities are still determining the exact cause, rescued crew members stated that the vessel suddenly tilted over. According to the U.S. National Security Advisor, high-level administration officials will meet with European officials this week to discuss ending the Ukraine war. Now, the announcement came with reports that Trump had spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Lee Seung-ja has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said Sunday that Washington will hold talks with European officials this week on how to end the Ukraine war. Speaking to NBC's Meet the Press, Waltz said a delegation including the U.S. Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Vice President, and the U.S. Special Envoy to Europe will hold talks on ending the war. The National Security Advisor did not go into details, but said that Trump is ready to bring the Ukraine issue to the table this week. This includes the issue of future American aid to Ukraine. However, Waltz stressed that the U.S. needs to recoup the costs through a partnership with the Ukrainians over its rare earth and natural resources, all of which are going to be discussed this week. While Waltz says Trump will end the war, the security guarantees will be up to the Europeans. The announcement of the high-level talks comes as the New York Post last Friday reported that President Trump has spoken to President Putin about ending the Ukraine war. In an interview aboard Air Force One, Trump said he spoke on the phone with Putin to try to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war, but would not say how many times the two leaders have spoken since his return to the Oval Office last month. While Trump did not go into specific details of their phone call, he said that Putin wants to see people stop dying, adding that the 3-year-old war never would have happened if he had been president in 2022. The Kremlin has neither confirmed nor denied that the two leaders have spoken on the phone to discuss ending the war. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea added 4 more gold medals at the 2025 Winter Asian Games in Harbin on Sunday, reaching its target goal of 11 gold medals in just 2 days of competition. In short track and speed skating, Choi Min-jung won the women's 1,000-meter event to claim her 3rd gold medal at this year's Games. She becomes the first South Korean female athlete to win at least 3 gold medals at a single Winter Asian Games. Jang Sung-woo won the men's 1,000-meter event, his 2nd gold medal in Harbin. Meanwhile, in speed skating, Kim Min-sun won the women's 500-meter title and added a 2nd gold on the day when she teamed up with Lee Na-hyun and Kim Min-ji for the inaugural women's team sprint race. Netflix's global hit Korean TV show Squid Game Season 2 won the Best Foreign Language Series award at the 30th Critics' Choice Awards held in LA last Friday. The show's first season claimed the honor at the 2022 edition of the awards, the first Korean TV drama to win the award. Korean actor Lee Jung-jae also won Best Actor in a Drama Series back in 2022. Now, other nominees in the same category this year included Pachinko Season 2, Citadel, Honey Bunny, and Acapulco. Meanwhile, Season 3 of Squid Game is set to be released in June.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Starting in the Middle East, in a significant move under the recent ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, Israeli forces have withdrawn from a strategic area in Gaza. On Sunday local time, the Israeli military completed their withdrawal from the Netzarim Corridor, a critical route that previously divided the Gaza Strip. The move, which will help facilitate the free movement of Palestinians between the northern and southern regions of Gaza, is part of the recent ceasefire agreement with Hamas. Following the withdrawal of Israeli troops, displaced Palestinians have begun returning to their homes. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump, speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, has reiterated his idea of the U.S. taking ownership of the Gaza Strip, suggesting that sections of the territory could be allocated to other Middle East states to aid in reconstruction efforts. Over in France, President Emmanuel Macron has used AI-generated deepfake videos of himself to promote the Paris AI Summit. The French president released a series of deepfake videos on Sunday, featuring his likeness to promote the Paris AI Summit, set to kick off on Monday local time. The videos shared across his official social media platforms depict Macron in various scenarios, crafted using advanced AI technology. The innovative approach aims to underscore the rapid advancements in artificial intelligence and provoke discourse on its ethical implications. On the eve of the event, Macron and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau shared their thoughts on the importance of leveraging the benefits of AI in an inclusive manner while minimizing risks. The third AI Summit will be held for 2 days and will gather leaders from over 80 states. In Europe, the Baltic states of Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia have officially disconnected from the Russian electricity grid and joined the European Union's energy system. The transition on Sunday, which had been planned for several years, marks the end of their dependence on the Soviet-era energy network and aims to improve regional energy security. The move was celebrated in a ceremony attended by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The merge involved disconnecting from Russia on Saturday and operating as an independent energy grid for 24 hours before linking to the EU grid through connections with Poland, Finland, and Sweden. Over in Africa, Namibia's first democratically elected president and revered founding father, Sam Nujoma, passed away on Saturday at the age of 95. He had been hospitalized for weeks due to illness in the country's capital, Windhoek. Nujoma led Namibia to independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990 and served as president for 15 years. Before becoming the country's leader, Nujoma had spent almost 30 years in exile. He was officially recognized as the founding father of Namibian nation in 2005. The current president of Namibia announced a period of national mourning for Nujoma, who was dubbed a freedom fighter.
This winter could be remembered as one of the warmest if last week's cold snap wasn't too bad. Hangang River was frozen on Saturday, the second latest that has happened since the record began back in 1906. It's another freezing morning for many of us, with cold wave alerts being in place. However, we could expect to see an improvement in conditions from this afternoon. West Coast regions could see 1 to 5 centimeters of snowfall through this morning, with a heavy snow advisory in place for parts of Jeollabuk-do province, so please drive with care. The rest of the country will be under mostly sunny skies with a high of 2 degrees in the capital, 5 degrees in Daegu and Gyeongju this afternoon. But windy air could bring down the feels-like temperatures in most places. Stay bundled up. The cold air that had a firm hold on the country should finally ease this week, and we could see more seasonable temperatures return. However, another round of winter precipitation in the forecast for Wednesday in most parts of Korea.
That wraps up our morning edition of Arirang News. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.